Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this motion on the following reasons. One, I empathize with my colleague who just left, Senator Gloria. And Senator Gloria, let me go on record as a person who respects women, because all my life I've worked so hard to respect women. The issue today is something which is very emotive, and I know where you're coming from. But what the Speaker has proposed is for us to consider whether we go the committee way or we go the plenary way. Mr. Speaker, listening to your communication.
Okay, please just take your seat, please. Please take your seat. Please take your seat. Senator Ledama, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me reiterate again, and I hope that I can be protected from Mr. Speaker.
What is your point of order, Senator? What is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, point of order is a right, it's not a privilege. Standing order number 91. Stop shouting. You are not in Maasai market. Stop looking down at people.
Kindly.
No. Don't stop shouting at me. You are not in a market. Point
Senator
of order,
Chirenge.
Mr. Speaker. Standing order number 91.
You are out of order, Senator Chirenge. You have the floor. Address the chair.
Mr. Speaker, point of order on 101, contents of the speech and standing order number 1. The Senator of Narok, my good friend, who happens to be the Deputy Minority Leader, should stop engaging a member directly. He should stop, Mr. Speaker. Instead of talking to Gloria directly, he should address Gloria through the chair. And that is what I'm just saying. So, Mr. Speaker, this is not a protest, my brother. Easy maandamano. Mr. Speaker, what I'm saying is that he should engage Senator Gloria through the seat, Mr. Speaker, through your chairmanship. Not assenting, Mr. Speaker. And we need protection. If there are people who want to do maandamano, they can go to Kamukunji. This is a house of rules and regulations. He should just address Senator Gloria through the chair, Mr. Speaker. And therefore he's out of order.
Very well, Senator Chirenge. Senator Ledama, kindly proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I know people are excited to go on holiday, but being cantankerous should not be one of the excitements. Mr. Speaker, earlier on I indicated clearly that I support this motion because this will not be my first impeachment proceeding, or rather removal proceeding, that I participate in. I've sat here and I know the reasons why I was among the people who proposed that we go the committee way. Mr. Speaker, I sat on this very chair when we were removing Governor Mike Sonko. And my colleague who was sitting on the right, the majority leader, said to me, this is a political process. This is not a legal matter. On that day, I was naive. I sat there, I took my pen and paper, and I was following the arguments which were being made by the legal counsels for both parties. But ultimately, when it came to the point of us voting, I was not given an opportunity. Our standing orders do not give us an opportunity to now contribute and say, this is the reason why I will vote to impeach Mike Sonko, or these are the reason why I will not vote to impeach Mike Sonko. Mr. Speaker, it was simple. Come and vote. Article 123 of the Constitution. And this is to inform my dear sister, the nominated senator, what's her name? Senator Gloria, that ultimately, when it comes down to voting, only head of delegations are the ones who will vote. Elected senators. That is by the Constitution, that is not by Ledama Ole Kina. So it doesn't matter whether the matter is so emotive. In fact, what will even give the governor an opportunity for a fair hearing is when a committee sits, looks at the issues, the evidence, go through. Mr. Speaker, when I sat here, even if I had my pen and paper and I can read very fast, I never got an opportunity to examine the evidence which was being presented for the removal.
Honorable Senators, can you consult in law?
So,
terms?
Mr. Speaker, like I said, I know this is an emotive issue, but for the first time, let us be seen as having given justice an opportunity. I particularly say that I would never participate, although it is my duty, I would never participate in a plenary session to remove a governor. Because what we do, we sit here, you know, the two parties argue their matters, they bring matters of law. We are not a court of law, we are quasi-judicial process. In fact, it is purely political. It has got nothing to do with law. We know very well, when I listen to the charges you brought that have been read out, Mr. Speaker. You know, I will read Article 207 of the Constitution. I will read Section 109 of the PFM Act. But seriously, sitting down here as a senator, will I get an opportunity now to say, give me the evidence? Let me go through the evidence, the receipt that the governor authorized the spending of money at source. Those are accusations. Mr. Speaker, I think it is important for our colleagues to remember that this Senate does not impeach a governor. The impeachment happens in the county assembly. The county assembly are the ones who impeach the governor. Our job here is very simple. As per Article 181 of the Constitution, is to go through the law that was set up by this Parliament, which is the County Governments Act, to go through the process of removal. In fact, it will come to a point whether we're looking at it. We're not going to be looking at see whether this is a man or a woman, or whether the members of the committee were former governors. I dare say that the two distinguished senators who are former governors are really well thought out, very intelligent leaders who can be able to guide this process. So, Mr. Speaker, as emotive as the matter might be, let us remember one thing, that we can today decide, let's change that committee, and we put all nominated women as senators. But when it comes to voting, will they vote? And the fact is, they will not vote. Mr. Speaker, we talked about the issue of men versus women. Those are very emotive issues. But when it comes to a process which is clearly defined by the Constitution, the only people who will vote are the leaders of the delegation. And by design, or rather by the way things are in this country, unfortunately, most of the people who are elected as senators are men. It is a very sad situation, but is that something now that we have to go back to the voters and tell them that make sure that tomorrow when there's a woman who wants to become a senator, elect her. We are talking about this issue of two-thirds gender, but really, should it be a big argument when we are discussing issues of whether to allow 11 of our colleagues? You know, Mr. Speaker, the majority leader, when he sits here, is a very intelligent gentleman. He's not a member of that committee. He chose other members of his party who he thought that would be able to ensure that they give justice to this lady. The minority leader also chose members on this side without looking at the gender. The only thing that we emphasize on was that you are removing a governor. When you are removing a governor, you as an elected senator traverse the entire county to seek for vote. That governor traversed the entire county. If you come and remove that governor and ultimately you don't even have a vote to determine whether she goes home or not, what will it help? So, Mr. Speaker, I want to beseech my colleagues here that let us not trivialize this matter. Let us not bring the issue of two-thirds gender rule to determine how we are going to defend devolution. You know, it is quite sad, Mr. Speaker, that we are sitting in this house today on a special sitting, barely 3 months since the Honorable Governor took office. These are very emotive matters that require sober minds. It requires us to sit down in a committee, go through all the evidence, and then when you come here, because ultimately it will come back to plenary. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to plenary, I want to hear whoever is going to be elected as the chairperson of that committee convincing me whether I should vote to send that governor home or to retain her. My job is really not to impeach a governor. There is no senator here who can impeach a governor. A governor can only be impeached by the MCS. Our job is just to go through. We actually will be working as if we are, what do you call it? Huh? You know, there's a word, they use it a lot in America. As a jury. So our job is like as a jury. So we'll be sitting there and saying, did they follow the law? One. Okay, if they presented evidence that the governor spent the money at source, is it true? And then we leave the matters of the court to be dealt by the court. So in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I would like to beseech this House to support the committee way. Let us give the men and women who are put in that committee an opportunity to be able to go through the evidence, investigate the matter. Let's listen to the content of the motion is to investigate and determine whether or not the assembly followed the law. Mr. Speaker, finally, as I sit down, there are issues of preliminary orders that will come. You know, POs or preliminary objections. This House sitting in plenary will not give that governor an opportunity for the lawyers to argue as to why we should not proceed with this matter. But when we sit in a committee and you are brought in a PO from a high court of Kenya, you will get an opportunity to go through it. We have a very able secretariat who will be able to tell us, okay, we have matters either sub judice, this matter will become sub judice, or we are barred by the court. So let's stop this political process. And by then the matter ends there. Mr. Speaker, we had a case of Taita Taveta. When it was brought before this House, we chose the committee way. When we chose the committee way, when they went, the first order of business was to seek whether there is a court order. When they saw that there was a court order, that matter rested there. So there's no one who will be prejudiced by us going through the committee. So, Mr. Speaker, I plead with my colleagues. Let us go through the committee way. We give these distinguished senators an opportunity to be able to investigate and save devolution. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Senator Mungatano.
I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also share my thoughts. Mr. Speaker, President Woodrow Wilson, the 28th President of the United States, was quoted as saying, when Congress is in plenary, Congress is in exhibition.